The Office of Compliance and Investigations is pleased to bring you the following information on discrimination and harassment: what it is, how to recognize it, and what steps you can take if you encounter it.
Welcome. JCPS is committed to providing a workplace free of harassment and discrimination of any kind, including sexual harassment and other forms of harassment based on race, color, religion, national origin, gender, age, disability, or any other characteristic protected by state or federal employment discrimination laws. It's important to know that prevention of these forms of unwanted behaviors is the best tool to eliminate discrimination and harassment in the workplace. But you need to do your part. Treating others as we would like to be treated is a crucial key. It is the responsibility of every employee to treat coworkers with respect and to speak up if they witness inappropriate conduct. Education and prevention is the best tool to eliminate harassment in the workplace. One of the first steps to prevention is knowing your rights. The U.S. Equal Employment Opportunity Commission is responsible for governing these rights by enforcing federal laws that make it illegal to discriminate in job applicant or employee based on several federally protected statutes. Those include Age Discrimination and Employment Act, which prohibits discrimination against persons age 40 and over. American with Disabilities Act, which prohibits discrimination against persons with disabilities. Civil Rights Act, which prohibits discrimination in employment based on race, color, sex, religion, or national origin. Civil Rights Act of 1991, which allows for jury trial and compensatory damages for violation of Title VII. Equal Pay Act, which requires equal pay between employees of different sexes for equal work. Executive Order 11246, which government contractors must implement affirmative action plans for women and minorities. Federal statutes also protect our students in Title IX of the Education Amendments of 1972. Title IX of the Education Amendments of 1972 prohibits discrimination based on sex in education programs and activities that receive federal financial aid. There are many different forms of harassment. It's interesting to know that sexual harassment, although the first form of harassment that comes to mind for most, is actually the least form of harassment that occur in the workplace. However, it is still very serious and costs organizations millions every year in compensation and damages. Sexual harassment is conduct of a sexual nature that occurs in the workplace. Sexual harassment is a form of sexual discrimination that violates Title VII of the Civil Rights Act of 1964. It is unwanted and can include sexual advances, requests for sexual favors, verbal and or physical conduct of sexual nature, and displaying of sexually explicit or suggested materials. Anyone can be affected by the offensive behavior, not just the person who's being targeted. Harassment does not only affect females. Men too can be greatly affected. In fact, 16.5% of charges filed in 2017 were males. In 2014, there were almost 7,000 complaints of sexual harassment nationwide reported to the Equal Employment Opportunity Commission. These totals have dropped to little over 6,600 in 2017, with settlement dollars equaling almost $50 million. These totals do not include the additional money paid out to victims through litigation processes, which substantially increases this total. That's right, sexual harassment can cost companies millions. But in addition to that, employers can face additional costs in things like legal fees. Other less direct financial strikes can come when harassment affects the work environment. It can lead to an unproductive workforce, increased turnover, and harm to an organization's reputation. JCPS is an equal opportunity employer and takes the equal treatment of employees very seriously. Board policy states the Jefferson County Public School District shall not discriminate in recruitment, employment, retention, promotion, demotion, transfer, or dismissal on the basis of age, color, disability, marital or parental status, national origin, race, sex, sexual orientation, gender identity, gender expression, veteran status, religion, genetic information, political beliefs, or affiliation. The district shall promote equal opportunities through a vigorous affirmative action program as an integral part of personnel policy and practice in the employment, development, advancement, and treatment of employees of Jefferson County Public Schools. Retaliation is also against the law. It occurs when an employer or agency takes adverse action against a covered individual because he or she exercises in a protected activity such as an individual's right to bring forth an issue of discrimination or take part in a discrimination proceeding or otherwise opposing discrimination. There are two types of harassment that the court system recognizes. They are quid pro quo, which means this for that, or something for something. This usually occurs in a supervisor to employee relationship. Hostile work environment, which is severe and pervasive conduct. It's unreasonable interference with an individual's job performance, offensive, intimidating, and hostile work environment, and can be created by anyone in the workplace. While we're talking about hostile working environment, I want to remind you that hostile working environment must be based on a protected class, such as sex, age, gender, disability, and so forth. Reasonable person is a fictional person with an ordinary degree of reason, prudence, care, foresight, or intelligence whose conduct, conclusion, or expectation in relation to a particular circumstance or fact is used as an objective standard by which to measure or determine something. Or in other words, a person who thinks as with the community or agrees along with the judgment of a group or the majority of the public. For example, a majority of the people in a community may jaywalk, but jaywalking might still fall below the community's standards of safe conduct. And each time you get behind the wheel of a car, regardless of where you're going or where you've been, a motorist is still expected to obey traffic laws and pay attention to pedestrians and other drivers. Now, let's test our sexual harassment IQ in the following true or false questions. When a woman wears a short skirt or a person observes his religious grooming practices, they are making the kind of statement that is asking for harassment. True or false? The answer is false. Regardless of what someone wears, no one is asking to be treated unfairly or to be discriminated against. Number 2, a sexual relationship between a boss and a subordinate is always considered harassment. The answer is false. A relationship between a boss and a subordinate is not considered harassment. It is considered flattery, not harassment, when one person repeatedly asks another for a date despite continued turndowns. This answer is false. It is considered harassment to continue to ask someone out once they've made it clear that they're not interested. Number 4, it is always considered harassment to compliment a person's appearance or clothing. The answer is false. It is not considered sexual harassment to compliment one on their appearance. However, you should always be careful with what you say and how you say it. It's possible the individual on the receiving end may misconstrue what you're saying. Unwanted physical contact, including hugs and pats, are considered harassment. This one is true. The key word is unwanted physical contact. Threatening job repercussions if a person turns down a date or sexual relationship is considered harassment. This one is true. Number 7, harassment is generally defined by how the person on the receiving end takes it. This answer is true. It doesn't matter what you meant by a certain compliment or by a certain physical contact. If the person on the receiving end feels uncomfortable by that physical contact or that compliment, then you could be opening yourself up for a harassment complaint. Number 8, if an African American individual intimidates and threatens a Hispanic individual, it's not harassment because they are both minorities. The answer is false. Regardless of whether it occurs between two individuals who are considered minorities, it can still be considered harassment. Number 9, sexual jokes, comments, and gestures are not considered harassment when directed at someone of the same sex. The answer to that is false. Number 10, sexual harassment may violate employer policy, but it isn't always against the law. The answer to that is false. Sexual harassment is always against the law. Sexual harassment can occur in different forms. It can be something you say, things you do, physical actions such as touching and blocking. Examples of things that can get you into trouble include staring, winks and kisses, personal gifts, displaying sexually oriented pictures, using sexually oriented screensavers, letters, phone calls, or materials of sexual nature, and undressing someone with your eyes. Examples of physical actions include touching, pinching, patting, bumping, grabbing, cornering or blocking in the hallway, and unsolicited back or neck rubs. Other danger zones include retaliation, calling someone a nickname, stereotyping, sending inappropriate emails and inappropriate use of the internet that's viewed by others, dating and initiating personal relationships, cartoons, posters, pictures, and wearing inappropriate apparel, saying jokes that include things that may be sexual, racial, religious, or national origin, and making comments about one's personal appearance. No one is exempt from this type of behavior. It can be committed by anyone. Sexual harassment is wrong anytime, and JCPS recognizes its importance with a zero-tolerance policy. So what do you do if you find yourself in a discrimination situation? First, you want to speak to the person who's harassing you. Write everything down. Report the incident to your supervisor or equal opportunity representative. Call Compliance and Investigations at 485-3341, and please do not delay. The bottom line is JCPS cannot be a team if every member is not part of the team and treated appropriately, so treat others as you would like to be treated.
That's right, Dee. Living the golden rule is the key. And in the work environment, it goes far beyond just being kind to people. It can also be doing the right thing, like having a set of principles that govern the direction of an organization, such as guidelines that limit inappropriate behavior or actions that could be considered illegal, like receiving gifts over a certain value. For example, although gifts are generally prohibited, ethics guidelines limit gifts to receipts with a value of at least $50 per school year, and the gifts may include cash, product, or free discounted services received from anyone because you are a JCPS employee. While vendor relationships are obvious, students and their parents are also covered by this limit. Only PTAs and bargaining units are exempted.
We each have the right to work in an environment free of harassment and discrimination. But as employees of Jefferson County Public Schools, we also deserve the right to work in an environment where sets of principles are governed and behaviors are ethical, and an environment that achieves expectations and increases trust and quality throughout the district. What we do and how we conduct ourselves sets the tone within our organization, as well as with the public. A public trust and trust with one another is important, and that's why we hold each employee, volunteer, and affiliate to the highest ethical standards. We are proud to announce that in 2018, Jefferson County Public Schools implemented its first ethics guidelines. These guidelines can be found attached to the JCPS Board Policy Manual, Sections 3.17, Discipline, Suspensions, and Dismissal of Classified Employees, and Sections 3.27 under Discipline, Suspensions, and Dismissal of Certified Employees. The purpose of those guidelines is to make sure that every employee or affiliate acts in the highest ethical manner to preserve the public trust, and to make sure every employee or affiliate knows there are clear, comprehensive ethical requirements established. This policy applies to everyone, including you. This means JCPS expects everyone to have a commitment to excellence, district and personal integrity, and responsibility. And we will prove this in everything we do. We each have the responsibility to set the example and demonstrate integrity in order to include trust and respect. To ensure a positive work environment, we each have a vital role and are each required to uphold certain levels of behaviors and commitments. Part of our commitment is making decisions in the best interest of the district thereby making the best decision in the best interest of our students. This means demonstrating proper workplace conduct, avoiding conflict of interest, and maintaining appropriate relationships with coworkers and our students. In addition to how we conduct ourselves internally, each of us are also required to promote and uphold the public confidence. This includes not abusing leadership roles and not abusing public position and resources, using district time wisely, and knowing when to keep information confidential. As part of this team, it is crucial you understand how important your role is in maintaining an ethical organization. Each of us has a voice and has the power to make change. As part of the district, you are not only responsible for your own ethical conduct, but are also equally responsible for making sure those around you are upholding JCPS's ethical standards. Just as it is your responsibility to make sure the environment is free of harassment and discriminatory behaviors, it is also your responsibility to report improper conduct to the appropriate reporting agency. This includes, but is not limited to, gross mismanagement, significant waste of funds, abuse of authority, threats to safety, violation of our ethical guidelines, laws, rules, regulations, policies, and procedures, or other conduct that damages our integrity or reputation. While these ethic guidelines provide general guidance, it does not provide a complete list or a definitive answer to every possible ethical situation. Remember, this policy applies to all district personnel, volunteers, or affiliates with district staff, students, or information, and applies to all situations involving district business, student relations, contracts, and events. Violations of these policies may result in administrative or disciplinary action. Our goal is to develop a culture that supports ethical decision-making and provides a positive environment where hard work, creativity, and innovation are the norm. And with your help, we can achieve just that. Thank you for joining me. Now here's to a discrimination, harassment-free, and ethically driven work environment. For more information, contact Compliance and Investigations or visit our website with Jefferson County Public Schools.